Rashidi Lake and welcome to Tibet This Week, where we bring you weekly news edition on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's have a look at today's headlines. His Holiness the Dalai Lama teaches Tsongkhapa's three principal aspects of the path. His Holiness the Dalai Lama congratulates the new Prime Minister of Japan, Shigeru Ishiba. His Holiness the Dalai Lama congratulates President Jimmy Carter on his 100th birthday. Sigyong Bemba engages Tibetan communities on political and cultural concerns during his official visits to Uttarakhand and Simoor district. Central Tibetan Administration celebrates 155th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Former Tibetan political prisoner Thupten Nyingchi passed away in Tibet. The world needs a champion like the Tibetan people and the guidance of His Holiness the Dalai Lama more than ever, says Congressman Jim McGovern. Tibetan parliamentary delegation concludes advocacy in Belgium, meets European Parliament members. Tibet Policy Institute and Dalai Lama Institute for Higher Education renew partnership with new MOU. Representative Kama Singhe attends the 50th founding anniversary of Chenrezig Institute. Office of Tibet and Alliance for Victims of Chinese Communist Regime organize counter event on PRC's founding anniversary. On Monday this week, His Holiness the Dalai Lama led a teaching discourse on Tsongkhapa's three principal aspects of the path to 7,000 people, including 1,300 from Taiwan at the main temple in Dharamshala. In his teaching, His Holiness explained that the three principles of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, the awakening mind, and the correct view of emptiness are essential for spiritual progress. Renunciation alone does not lead to enlightenment, it must be accompanied by bodhicitta and wisdom. His Holiness also emphasized Tibet's role in preserving these teachings, which have gained global interest due to their foundation in reason and logic. After the brief teaching on Tuesday this week, the groups from Taiwanese devotees offered long life prayers to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. On Wednesday this week, His Holiness the Dalai Lama congratulated Japan's newly elected Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba in a written letter published on the Office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's web portal. His Holiness expressed appreciation for Japan's interest in his efforts to promote compassion, interreligious harmony, and a world free of weapons, including nuclear arms. Furthermore, His Holiness the Dalai Lama praised Japan's modernization and leadership in global peace efforts, encouraging Prime Minister Ishiba to continue fostering peace, especially in times of global uncertainty. He concluded by wishing Ishiba success in meeting the aspirations of the Japanese people and creating a more compassionate world. On Thursday this week, Sigyong Bemba on behalf of the Central Tibetan Administration and the Tibetan people wrote a congratulatory letter to extend greetings to Honorable Shigeru Ishiba and the Liberal Democratic Party of Japan on the election victory. Sigyong praised Japan's long-standing hospitality toward His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Tibetan people dating back to 1967. He highlighted Japan's admiration for His Holiness and its consistent advocacy for freedom, democracy, and human rights, particularly in Tibet and other regions affected by China's repression. Japan's strong stance against authoritarianism, Sigyong noted, sets a global example. He also emphasized the hope inspired by Japan's large parliamentary support group for Tibet and expressed optimism for continued support under the new Prime Minister. Also on Tuesday this week, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has written to President Jimmy Carter to congratulate him on reaching his 100th birthday, which he described as an inspiring achievement. His Holiness the Dalai Lama said he has long admired the former president for his good works and thanked him for showing continued concerns for the benefit of others. During his visits to Tibetan settlements in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh, Sigyong Bemba discussed key political and cultural issues with the residents. He addressed China's efforts to erase Tibetan identity by closing religious and cultural institutions, including the PRC's replacement of Tibet with Xizang. Sigong emphasized the importance of preserving Tibetan culture and language, highlighting ongoing advocacy efforts and challenges faced in Sino-Tibetan dialogue. Sigong, while visiting Tibetan settlement of Puruwala, Ponta, Degu Yugeling Habarpur, Munduwala, and Tsiring Thunden Tibetan settlement, Sigong praised the Tibetan community's resilience and urged Tibetans to protect their heritage amidst rising challenges. He shared updates on the Central Tibetan Administration's digitization initiatives, expressed concern over China's exploitation of Tibet's water resources, and outlined ongoing efforts in housing, education, and cultural preservation. He also noted international legislative progress, such as the U.S. Resolve Tibet Act, recognizing Tibet's right to self-determination. Throughout this visit, Sigong stressed the role of the Tibetan youth in maintaining cultural identity and promoting Tibet's cause on the global stage, especially in the light of China's historical distortions. His engagements reinforced the Kashag's commitment to the middle way approach and equitable justice for Tibetans in exile. On Thursday this week, Sigong Pemba Tsering attended the 80th birthday anniversary of the 41st Sakya Koma teaching celebrated in the presence of 42nd Sakya Tizin Ratna Vajra Rinpoche and 43rd Sakya Tizin Gyana Vajra Rinpoche at Sakya Center in Rajpur. The celebration featured distinguished guests, including Uttarakhand Tourism Minister Satpal Maharaj as the chief guest, along with Sigong Pemba Tsering, incumbent Kowloon, Minister of the Department of Religion and Culture, Speaker Khenpo Sonam Tempel, Deputy Speaker Thomas Ring Tekang, and Justice Commissioner Tenzin Lungtok from the Central Tibetan Administration as special guests. Members of the 17 Tibetan Parliament's Standing Committee and Secretary Thundul Doji from the Department of Religion and Culture were also in attendance. On Wednesday this week, the leadership and senior staff of the Central Tibetan Administration convened at Kangchen Kishong to commemorate the 155th Gandhi Jayanti to honor the birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, the iconic champion of non-violence. The event was graced by the officiating Sigong Kowloon Thalam Doma Changra of the Department of Education, along with Kowloon Nozu Doma from the Department of Information and International Relations, Auditor General Tlakpa Gelsen, and various secretaries and senior officials of the Central Tibetan Administration. In her address to the media, officiating Sigong Thalam Doma Changra underscored the universal importance of Gandhi's teachings and the principle of non-violence. Former Tibetan political prisoner Thupten Nyisi passed away on September 28 in Lhasa. He was born in 1950 in Gyama Dashar, Metokunga County, where he attended school until age 14 before working on his family farm. In 1992, he and 4 companions raised the Tibetan flag and chanted pro-independence slogans, leading to their arrest. Thupten Nyisi was sentenced to 15 years in Tapchi prison, where he remained until 2007. Central Tibetan Administration extends condolences to his family and prayers are offered for his rebirth in higher realms. On September 29th, the Regional Tibetan Association of Massachusetts hosted an event titled Thank You Congressman Jim McGovern, honoring him for his dedication to Tibet and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. During the event, Congressman Jim McGovern praised the Tibetan community's resilience and global influence, emphasizing the importance of Tibetan values like love, respect, and joy in countering today's negativity. He reaffirmed his commitment to supporting Tibet in Congress, inspired by his meetings with Tibetans worldwide.
Well, look, I woke up this morning and I turned on the news, and there's just so much turmoil and so much chaos, war and violence and destruction. I couldn't leave the news on for very long because it was so depressing. And the reality is none of that is preordained. None of that has to be. So much of that is taught, is passed on from generation to generation. And what we need to do is figure out a way to teach people an alternative view. And that's what I really admire about His Holiness and about the Tibetan culture so much, because it is about unity. It is about respect. It is about love. It is about joy. It is about contentment and happiness. And to me, that's the kind of world I would like to see.
Xi Jinping President also expressed gratitude for McGovern's unwavering support for the Tibetan cause despite facing personal sacrifices. On 29 September, members of the 17th Tibetan Parliament in exile, MP Tashi Thindup and MP Rinzin Thindup began their official visit to Belgium, meeting with Tibetan representatives and engaging in a public talk at Kama Sonam Gyatso Ling Tibetan Buddhist Center. The parliamentarians' delegation continued their advocacy efforts in Belgium, where they met with Belgian MP Els Van Hoof and officials from the European Foreign Affairs Office and discussed Tibet's human rights situation under Chinese rule. The delegation praised and thanked the European Union's recent statement to the United Nations Human Rights Council, which highlighted Tibet's plight. They also met Belgian Senator Karl Wallof and held discussions with activists from the Lungta Association and the International Campaign for Tibet on raising awareness about Tibet. On Tuesday this week, the delegation met with members of the European Parliament from France, Austria, Lithuania, Romania and Germany. They briefed them on Tibet's situation, emphasizing the importance of international support and urging the European Union to adopt a resolution on Tibet. On 30th September, the Tibet Policy Institute and the Dalai Lama Institute for Higher Education renewed their collaboration by signing a new Memorandum of Understanding in Dharamshala following the expiration of their previous 5-year agreement. The MOU aims to promote academic exchanges, joint research and Tibetan studies with plans to faculty and student mobility programs, conferences and research publications. The agreement was signed by TPI Secretary Dawat Sering and Dalai Lama Institute for Higher Education Principal Dr. Tenzin Pasang, marking the continuation of their partnership for another 5 years. On 26 September, Representative Kama Sengye from the Office of Tibet, Canberra, attended the 50th anniversary celebration of the Chenrezig Institute in Atlo, Queensland. Representative read a message from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who congratulated the Institute and emphasized the importance of being 21st century Buddhists, combining deep knowledge of Buddha's teachings with modern education and science. His Holiness praised the Institute's contributions to society, including hospice projects, and wished them continued success. Chenrezig Institute was established in 1974 and it was the first Tibetan Buddhist center in Australia. On Tuesday, the Tibet Information Office, in collaboration with the New Zealand and Australia Alliance for Victims of Chinese Communist Regime, held a counter-event at Sydney Town Hall to coincide with China's National Day. The event, featuring a photo exhibition and relay, brought together Chinese Democrats, Hong Kongers, Tibetans, Falun Gong practitioners and VTAC Australia to highlight issues under Chinese Communist rule. Chinese liaison officer Dawa Samo condemned China's state-run Tibetan boarding schools, describing them as tools for erasing Tibetan culture. Former Chinese diplomat Chang Yongling called for Australia to use the Magnitsky Act to sanction Chinese officials for human rights abuses. The event concluded with a unified call for immediate government action. That is all the news for this week's edition of Tibet This Week. Thank you so much for watching.